Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased that you're holding this hearing today and recognizing the important role that nuclear must play in our clean energy future. Without utilizing and growing our current nuclear energy capacity, it's impossible for us to achieve significant emissions reductions. We see it playing out in countries like Germany, who are moving away from nuclear power due to some advocacy from some of the environmental groups. And subsequently, we've seen emissions increase as this steady baseload of power needed is being replaced by coal-fired plants. The U.S. has led the world in nuclear energy innovation, but in recent decades, we've started to cede that global leadership. We've also become too dependent on imports of uranium to power our nuclear reactors, reducing our energy security and increasing our dependence on supplies from untrustworthy state actors like Russia. To that end, I am pleased that the Trump administration has proposed the creation of a domestic uranium reserve in the most recent budget proposal. We must be doing more to encourage the development and deployment of advanced nuclear technologies. Mr. Levesque, it's great to have you testifying in front of the committee this morning on behalf of TerraPower. We're proud to have you based in Washington State. In your testimony, you discuss how countries like Russia and China are actively supporting the development of advanced nuclear technologies by directly subsidizing state-supported companies. Through this government support, these countries are better able to export their technology to other countries, creating decades of dependence on Russia and China to meet their nuclear energy needs. At the same time, you state, quote, "No other country has the capacity for innovation and the freedom to think innovatively like the United States." And I couldn't agree more. However, I'm concerned that government red tape and intransigence is setting back our ability to fully realize the potential of our private sector innovation, especially when it comes to exporting our technology to combat the spread of Chinese and Russian influence globally. Would you expand on the current state of global competition in advanced nuclear reactor development, and specifically, how can we as policymakers ensure a regulatory framework that enables companies like TerraPower to compete with state-subsidized companies?
Thank you, Congresswoman Rodgers, and thanks for your support in Washington, as always. I agree with all the points you made on the state of affairs with Russia and China. And earlier, Mr. Hopkins was describing the kind of economic benefits that those state-owned companies have as they pursue export projects. But I do want to offer innovation and new technology as an opportunity for the United States. Because what you see around the world is other countries are doing quite well at copying our old technology. Okay, in Pennsylvania in the late 1950s, Congressman Doyle mentioned Shippingport was the demonstration reactor for light water reactors. That once we proved that light water reactors could operate at commercial scale, that led to 100 reactors being built in the U.S. and more than 400 built around the world based on U.S.-born technology. And that resulted in these 100-year relationships that American companies had with those countries and those companies. So now as we look at new technology, you can see other countries have copied our old stuff and are making incremental improvements to it. Innovation is really the American role. We're good at it. We're good at managing projects with diverse groups of experts. I've worked on international projects, and I know oftentimes they call on the American project manager to put the teams together. It happens to be something we're good at. So we need to recognize that, again, because we're getting outnumbered greatly on Gen 3 plants, something like 40 to 1 on new builds around the world. And we're facing great challenges that Ms. Korsnick mentioned, keeping our Gen 2 plants running because of the incorrect market forces. But we need to recognize that advanced reactors and new technology are America's opportunity to regain nuclear leadership, because we're losing it.
Do you have anything specific on the regulatory front?
On the regulatory front, I think we need to continue what we've started. The NRC's mission is to protect people and the environment, and we respect that. And, Congress passed NEMA, the Nuclear Energy Innovation and Modernization Act. I think that was really important for empowering the NRC to change, because without that congressional empowerment and direction to change, they might not be, free to act with all their stakeholders. So I think it was very important that Congress passed NEMA. And I've seen, we've had Chairman Svinicki and Commissioner Caputo at TerraPower and meet with their senior management regularly. I can tell the NRC is responding to that. And so I think NEMA was a very good start.
That's great. It's always inspiring to hear about American ingenuity.
Gentlelady Hughes Mack,